Welcome to my channel. I'm Ray, and today I'm with HS1.
Hello, I'm HS1 Ed Hodges. I'm currently TDY on the Coast Guard Cutter Mellon, stationed in Seattle. I've been in the Coast Guard for 14 and a half years. I've been a corpsman for just about 7 and a half of them. When I first joined in 2005, I spent 6 years at the Honor Guard. Then I did a year overseas in Bahrain. Then I went to an air station, flew medevacs, went to a 270, did corpsman job on a boat. Now I'm at the academy in New London, but they needed a corpsman, so here I am.
A lot of you guys have been inquiring about HSing and what it's like. We'll just start from the very beginning about HSA school. Where was it? How long was it?
Okay, so HSA school is in Petaluma, California. It is 23 weeks long. The first 7 of it are EMT basic. All HSs are required to be National Registry Emergency Medical Technician basics. There's 4 levels, we're number 2 technically. So what happens is you learn CPR, you learn band-aids, you learn splinting, you learn backboards, get through that. Once you're done with that 7 weeks, then you move on to actual HS school, which is learning 7 body systems. You learn musculoskeletal, which is bones and muscles. You learn eyes, then you learn head, ears, nose, throat. Cardio, which is heart. Pulmonary, which is lungs. You learn GI, which is gastrointestinal and stomach, and then GU, which is everything else. So you kind of get a mastery knowledge, or not a mastery, a basic knowledge of these things throughout the 23 weeks. And when you graduate as an HS3. As long as you passed your EMT, then you go to your first unit.
So out in the fleet, what kind of practices are you allowed to do?
So if we're at a clinic, we're under the supervision of a medical officer, medical director. We're allowed to do anything we're taught at A school. So we can do IVs, we can do airways, we can do CPR, we can do stitches, we call them sutures. We can yank a toenail off, we can yank a fingernail off. We can provide some advanced care that a nurse would in a hospital. We can do injectable medications, we can do injectable saline things, we can numb things. As long as we're acting as a Coast Guardsman and we're under that medical direction, we can do all of those things. However, with our National Registry EMT, once we get out of the Coast Guard, unless we advance our education or unless we get permission through a different medical license, we can only do our basic EMT, which is assist with an EpiPen, you can assist with aspirin, you can assist with Motrin, or you can do CPR, assist with a Band-Aid, and those basic type medical care things.
There was a question specifically asking how many HSs are at a unit, and you were talking about how many were at a land unit versus a cutter.
So yes, it's way different on both. Now cutters have 1. Anything usually 210 feet and longer have 1 corpsman. That would be the 210s, 225s, 270s, 378s, Wimsels, and then the icebreakers. They all have 1 corpsman on it.
So they're in charge of 150 people. On
this cutter's 154, 270s around 110, 225s around 60. So we are the medical care 24/7, 365 for a cutter crew. That's it. So it can be 1 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, does not matter. We get the call.
And then on station, there's?
For normally at a station, it's usually 1. More bigger clinics, sectors, offices, things like that, there'll be more. My clinic I work at in New London, Connecticut at the Academy actually has around 45 or 50. My clinic in Cape Cod had right around 15 or 20. It's different pay grades, different scales to do different things. But yeah, there's more in a clinic than there is here.
But of course, that's to bases, so a lot more people are coming through that clinic for just regular healthcare needs like dental and
a normal patient care day on the cutter is 4, maybe 5 people. A normal care day in a clinic or an office is 25, 30, 40, 45 people. So we're running with multiple docs and multiple providers all at once.
And to be the only HS on a cutter, you have to be independent duty.
Yes.
And there's extra training for that.
There is. So the Coast Guard has it. It's called IDHS. There's Independent Duty Health Services. That is a 15-week school, also in Petaluma. There is a Navy school. They call it SFIDC, which is Surface Forces Independent Duty Corpsman School. That one's 53 weeks long, so it's an entire year.
Oh, wow.
The Air Force has ones called IDMT, Independent Duty Medical Technician. That one's at Fort Sam Houston, and that's right around 20 weeks. And the Army has their own combat casualty school for corpsmen, and that one is in I believe Arizona or Texas, and it's another 20 some odd weeks. We are able to go to any of them that take the seat, but the Coast Guard prefers you go to their IDHS class. After those 15 weeks, you are available, or you have orders, and you can go to anything that floats.
In your career, what kind of things have you encountered medically to have to treat?
I've had anywhere from I've stubbed my toe, I cut my finger. I had one the other day that was I cut my finger, this looks weird, does this look right? Bumped their head, bashed their head, broken leg, broken arm, all the way up to somebody saying, hey, my stomach hurts, and diagnosing appendicitis, get him to the flight surgeon, and medevac for surgery. So pretty much anything and all in between. It's been fun times, though.
It's like if it can happen, it will.
Oh, yes. Knock on wood as much as possible.
Where's wood?
Right?
So I heard a lot of rumors about there being an elective surgery that each coastie can have that's paid for by the Coast Guard, and it's just something that you want to do, like a boob job or a tummy tuck. Can you just ask for one of those and have it just like that?
No, you can't. You have to get it referred. So you have to get a medical provider that diagnoses this as a medical necessity for it to be paid for. There's a whole lot of diagnoses that go through. There's a whole lot of exams and things you have to do to get that. But really the only way to do that is to have it deemed medically necessary for the treatment of a condition that will cure the condition to actually have that elective surgery.
And so it's referred out, and a Coast Guardsman that's HS won't perform these
No, it's not a Coast Guard HS that does a surgery, not even a Coast Guard doc that does a surgery. We will actually refer you to a specialist. To get the diagnosis, usually we'll send you out to a provider that specializes in mental health, not because there's anything wrong and not because we're saying there's anything wrong. It's just to make sure that everything's in line and on the up and up, to make sure the diagnosis matches whatever it is. We also make sure you're healthy enough by going to a ortho surgeon to make sure that you can handle the surgery. We also go to a for women, if it is a breast augmentation or breast reduction, we do send you to an OB or a GYN just to make sure that that all matches with what it's supposed to be. And then it's a board certified plastic surgeon who does the job. It's not a Coast Guard doc that walks in the exam room and goes, all right, ladies and gents, here we go today. That's not how it works. You go to somebody who's licensed and specializes in it, yes.
Well, say someone wears glasses and they're tired of it. I heard that the Coast Guard pays for the LASIKs and eye things to make them better.
Yes. So there's two different eye refractive surgeries. There's LASIK and PRK. The only difference is the way that it actually attacks your eyeball. There's one that they cut a little hole, flap your eye, cut out the back, flap it back down, suture it down. Or there's one they just shoot a laser in. Don't ask me the definition of the both. I get them confused all the time. But the Coast Guard will allow you to get those done, and the military will pay for it through the DoD Warfighter program. It's based in Bethesda, Maryland, at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. You can go online, it's Googleable. You look them up, and they'll give you the form. You print out the form, fill out the form, take it to your command, get it signed. They'll be assigned a priority 1 through 4, send it into Bethesda, and they'll hold on to it, contact you when it's ready. You'll have to burn the leave and pay for your plane ticket down there and back to wherever you're going. But the DoD program will cover your LASIK and PRK. And it's part of the referral process where you stay and get all your follow-ups, because not only do you need the surgery, but you need the 2, 4, 6, 9, and 12-month follow-ups.
After the military, once you get out, what qualifications carry over into the civilian world?
The only qualification that they give me at A school that carries over is my EMT basic. So I can go out and ride an ambulance and assist with things. The Coast Guard has a program called CGCOOL, CGCOOL. It's a website you can go to. You can put in your rate, you can put in your rank. So E4 through E6, E7 through E9, HS, TS, GM, MK, any of them in there. And they have a list of qualifications and certifications that actually match with your job, where you are in your pay grade. So you can open up the link, click on the link and open it up. It'll tell you what you need to do for this class. Take this test, take this class, take this test. And the Coast Guard will reimburse you. Now there's a 5-step process for that. You have to follow the rules, follow the regs for it. You can't just automatically be like, well, I have my nursing now, can't the Coast Guard pay for it? No, you have to get the Coast Guard to approve you going through the course, then they'll reimburse you after you prove that you pass. So I could go get a medical assistant, I could go for a paramedic, but it all has to be listed on that CGCOOL website as an approved prior thing. And it's better to use that than it is using your GI Bill, because the Coast Guard does offer tuition assistance. So for college classes, you get your $4,500 a year.
Right.
And the Coast Guard GI, or the military GI Bill, you have it for when you get out, and you can use for college classes and things like that. Well, while you're in, don't touch your GI Bill. Your GI Bill works for 10 years after you start it. Don't touch it while you're in. Use the TA, use the CGCOOL system, and get those things paid for while you're in. And then when you get out, you can use it for your higher education, such as your bachelor's or things like that.
During your time, what has been the most downsides to being an HS?
I think the downside to being an HS, as with every job, is probably the paperwork. Now, we're one of the few services, it's coming back up. I know it's happening, so anybody who's an HS out there watching this, don't kill me. But the Coast Guard did lose their online electronic health record. We got it, we're getting it back, it's coming up. We're getting the system back, it's in process. So everything is paper. And when I say paper, if you walk in the clinic or you walk in the sick bay and they're talking to you, they're writing on a piece of paper. That's the note that's going to get sent to the doc, signed, emailed, sent back, and put in your medical record. So your medical record's going to have paper documentation in it. It's not just typing on the note, print it out, and be good to go, which is 5 minutes. It's a 15-minute patient note. So it's the paperwork that's ever surmounting, and it's so much fun. That it's bad, but it's not the worst part. The worst part is, for me, is having a patient that walks into sick bay or walks into the clinic or gets in my helicopter and I can't fix it. There's certain things I know how to fix. There's certain things I'm trained to do. I'm trained to notice. I'm trained to deal with. But when somebody walks in with something that they need to go out for, that's the hardest part, is knowing that you can't fix them. I know what to do. I know how. I've never done it, but I know you need this and that and this. They have to go somewhere else. So not being able to fix my own person, that's the problem. But knowing they get the care they need, that's pretty much where it is. And then again, we're from family. I mean, I'm married with a daughter. I love them to death and I miss them every day. But you make sacrifices, because at the end of it, you get to go home to my wife and daughter and tell them about all the places we've been, Alaska, and pretty much enjoy life. So
Right. So what are the best parts?
the best part would be, there's two really good ones for me. So when I was a non-rate in 2008, I broke my leg, and then I was told, you won't get to do the job you wanted to do. I wanted to fly, I wanted to work on helicopters. I got told, that's not going to happen, you have a plate and screws in your leg. So I went, okay. So I fought the doctor. I went to A school, I went to Bahrain, I went to A school, and I graduated, went to my first duty station on my choice, Air Station Cape Cod in Massachusetts. They told me, you have to be able to fly. I went, well, here's my flight physical, here's my request. Flight surgeon goes, you're qualified, here you go. So I got to fly. So that was one of the best parts. The other best part would be, it's a tough two on this one. On my first job as on a 270 as an IDHS, or Independent Duty Corpsman, we were floating in the Southern Atlantic around the Caribbean, and we caught Cuban migrants who were trying to make it from Cuba to America. Our job is to make sure that they're okay. So we picked them up, we brought them on board the cutter, and my job is to provide medical care. So we had 163 Cuban migrants on the boat, and I was the medical care for them. We had an 8-year-old girl and a 6-year-old little boy. And the boy had a history of asthma, and the little girl had a history of stomach problems and inability to eat. So every day, twice a day, we were doing vitals checks on medication handouts. Anybody that had medication that needed it, we gave it to them. We took care of them all the best we could, the best I could. And the best part was watching the little kids. The little boy comes hopping down the ladder one day, and I always try and greet my patients with a smile. So I would kneel down and get to his level, because little kids don't like it when you're taller. I would kneel down in front of him and I hold my hand up to get a high five. And after about the first day, he was kind of held back. But every day after that, he came hopping down the ladder, ran up to me, gave me a high five, and pulled his shirt up so I could listen to his love. So it's the little things like that that make the day-to-day annoying paperwork and time away from family worth it.
Wow. That's awesome. Thanks for being on this video with me and sharing all this. Guys, being HS is cool.